I want to ask you something before this story starts. If someone told you that your career choice was going to get you killed, would you change it? If the most powerful man on earth told you to bow or die, would you bow? And if the answer was no, if you held your position, kept your integrity, refused to compromise, and they threw you into a pit of lions anyway, would you still say it was worth it? There is a man in Scripture who answered all three of those questions with his life. Not once, not twice, 4 times across 70 years under 4 of the most powerful emperors who ever walked the earth. And he never flinched, not one single time. His name is Daniel, and this is the most remarkable career in the history of the world. Stay with me, because this story starts with a teenager ripped from his home, and what he does in the first week of captivity sets the tone for the next 70 years of his life. It is 605 BC. The Babylonian army has done what no army had managed to do before. They have taken Jerusalem. The temple, Solomon's temple, the most sacred building in the world, is stripped. The gold vessels, the sacred objects, carried to Babylon. And then Nebuchadnezzar gives an order that changes the course of this story. He says, "Bring me the best of their young men, no defect, well-informed, quick to understand, qualified to serve in the king's palace." He is not destroying the next generation. He is recruiting them. He wants Israel's smartest young minds working inside his empire. Retrained, renamed, reprogrammed. 3 years of Babylonian education, Babylonian language, Babylonian literature, Babylonian names, and the royal food from the king's own table. Among the young men selected, 4 names: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. You may know the last 3 by their Babylonian names: Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. They're teenagers, torn from their families, dropped into the most powerful city on earth. Everything about their identity is under attack. And in the very first week, Daniel draws a line. The food is a problem. The king's food was likely sacrificed to Babylonian gods. Eating it meant participating in Babylon's religion, accepting Babylon's god as your provider. Daniel refuses, politely, without drama, without a speech. He goes to the official in charge and asks for a test. "Give us vegetables and water for 10 days, then compare us to the young men who eat the royal food, and judge by what you see." The official is terrified. If Daniel and his friends look worse than the other trainees, the official loses his head. But something moves him to agree. 10 days. At the end of 10 days, Daniel and his 3 friends look healthier and better nourished than every young man who ate the royal food. The official removes the king's food. He gives them vegetables. First test, first refusal, first win. But God does something else too, something beyond physical health. To these 4 young men, God gives knowledge, skill in literature, and wisdom. And to Daniel specifically, the ability to understand visions and dreams, a gift that is about to become the most dangerous and most valuable thing in the Babylonian Empire. Hold on, because what Daniel does with that gift in the next scene saved the lives of every wise man in Babylon, including men who were not even his friends. The training is over. The 3 years are up. Daniel and his friends stand before the king. Nebuchadnezzar tests them himself. In every matter of wisdom and understanding, he puts questions to them. He finds them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his kingdom. 10 times, not slightly better. 10 times. Daniel enters royal service, and then the king has a dream so disturbing he cannot go back to sleep, a dream that stays with him like something alive. He calls his wise men, his astrologers, his enchanters, his sorcerers, and he says something that makes the room go silent. "Tell me what I dreamed, and tell me what it means." Not, Here is the dream, now interpret it. Tell me what I dreamed, without me telling you. The wise men look at each other. Then they say, No one can do this, Your Majesty. No king has ever asked such a thing. Only the gods could reveal this. Nebuchadnezzar orders the execution of every wise man in Babylon, all of them, including Daniel, who wasn't even in the room. When the soldiers come for Daniel, he does something that tells you everything about who he is. He does not panic. He does not plead. He asks, Why is the decree so urgent? He gets the information. He goes to the king. He asks for time. Then he goes home. He tells his friends, and they pray. That night, the mystery is revealed to Daniel in a vision. He wakes up and praises God before he tells a single person what he saw. Then he goes to the commander who is about to execute all the wise men and says, Don't kill them. Take me to the king. I will tell him his dream. He stands before Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful man on earth, and he says, No wise man, enchanter, magician, or diviner can explain to the king the mystery he is asked about. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. Then Daniel tells the king exactly what he dreamed. An enormous statue, head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, feet of iron mixed with clay. Then a rock, cut from a mountain, but not by human hands, strikes the statue at its feet. The whole thing collapses. The rock becomes a mountain that fills the entire earth. Daniel tells Nebuchadnezzar what it means. 4 kingdoms will rise and fall, Babylon first, then 3 more, and then a kingdom that will never be destroyed, set up by God himself, that will outlast everything men have built. Daniel has just described the next 600 years of world history, standing in front of the man who runs the world. Nebuchadnezzar falls face down before Daniel. He gives him gifts. He promotes him to ruler over the whole province of Babylon and places him in charge of all its wise men. But here's what most people miss. What Daniel does with that power is just as important as how he got it. Keep watching. Nebuchadnezzar builds a statue, 90 feet tall, all gold, on the plain of Dura. He summons every official in his empire, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates. Every senior person in Babylon comes to the dedication. The herald announces, As soon as you hear the music play, you will fall down and worship the image of gold the king has set up. Whoever does not bow will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. The music plays. Everyone bows, except 3 men. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. They stay standing. It is reported to the king. Nebuchadnezzar is furious. He summons them. He gives them one more chance. He says, Is it true you do not serve my gods or worship the image I set up? I will give you one more chance. When the music plays, bow and you will be forgiven. But if you do not, you will be thrown into the blazing furnace, and then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand? And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego give one of the greatest answers in the history of the world. King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it. But even if he does not, we want you to know, Your Majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Even if he does not. They are not claiming God will save them. They are saying, even if he doesn't, our answer is still no. That is not blind faith. That is conviction. Nebuchadnezzar is so furious, his face changes. He orders the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual. So hot that the soldiers who throw them in are killed by the heat before they can step back. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego fall into the fire. And then Nebuchadnezzar leaps to his feet. He says to his advisors, "Weren't there 3 men we threw in? Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." He calls them out. They walk out. The fire has not harmed them, not a hair singed, not a robe scorched. They do not even smell of smoke. Nebuchadnezzar decrees, no one may say anything against their God, and he promotes all 3 men. Nebuchadnezzar has a second dream. A massive tree, so tall it reaches the sky, visible to the ends of the earth, beautiful, abundant, sheltering every creature. Then a messenger from heaven descends and says, "Cut down the tree, strip its branches, but leave the stump. Let him be drenched with dew, let him live with the animals, let his mind be changed from that of a man to that of an animal, until 7 years have passed." Daniel hears it, and the Bible says he was so disturbed he was silent for an entire hour. The king says, "Daniel, tell me." Daniel says, "My lord, if only the dream applied to your enemies. You are the tree." He tells the king plainly, "You will be driven away from people. You will live with wild animals. You will eat grass like cattle for 7 years, until you acknowledge that heaven rules." And Daniel adds, "Therefore, your majesty, accept my advice. Renounce your sins by doing what is right. Perhaps then your prosperity will continue." The king does not listen. 12 months later, walking on the roof of his palace, looking at the city he built, he says, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" The words are still in his mouth when a voice comes from heaven. "Your royal authority has been taken from you." Immediately, Nebuchadnezzar loses his mind. He is driven from his palace. He lives with wild animals. He eats grass like an ox. His hair grows like eagle's feathers. His nails grow like bird's claws. For 7 years. The most powerful man in the world is living in a field on all fours, eating grass. Until at the end of 7 years, he raises his eyes toward heaven, and his sanity returns. He writes, "Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven. Everything he does is right, and all his ways are just. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble." The testimony is written by the king himself in the official royal record, the most powerful man on earth, writing about the God of his Jewish employee. Years pass. Nebuchadnezzar is gone. Babylon has a new king. His name is Belshazzar. And Belshazzar has learned nothing from what happened to his predecessor. He throws a feast, 1,000 nobles, wine flowing, and then he makes a specific decision that crosses a specific line. He orders the gold and silver goblets to be brought from Jerusalem's temple, the sacred vessels, the cups set apart for the worship of God. And they use them to drink wine while praising the gods of gold and silver, bronze and iron, wood and stone, using the sacred to serve the profane, using what belongs to God to celebrate everything that opposes him. And then, in the middle of the party, the fingers of a human hand appear, writing on the plaster wall near the lampstand. The king watches the hand as it writes. His face turns pale, his thoughts terrify him, his legs give way, his knees knock together. The Bible is very specific about this. His knees were knocking. He calls his wise men. Nobody can read the writing. The queen comes in. She says, "There is a man in your kingdom who has the spirit of the holy gods. In the time of your predecessor, he was found to have insight and wisdom. Call for Daniel. He will tell you what the writing means." Daniel is brought in. He's an old man now, probably in his 70s. Belshazzar offers him gold and purple robes and the 3rd highest position in the kingdom if he can read the writing. Daniel says, "Keep your gifts. Give them to someone else. I will read the writing for you and tell you what it means." Then Daniel delivers what may be the most devastating message ever spoken to a king at a party. He tells Belshazzar about Nebuchadnezzar, how God gave him his kingdom, how pride brought him down, how he lived with animals, how he finally acknowledged God. But you, Belshazzar, have not humbled yourself, though you knew all this. Then the 4 words on the wall: Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parsin. Numbered, numbered, weighed, divided. God has numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. You have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. That same night, Belshazzar, king of Babylon, was killed. The Persians were already at the gates. The party was Babylon's last night. Babylon falls. The Persian Empire rises. New king, new world order. Darius the Mede takes the throne. He appoints 120 satraps to govern his kingdom, and over them 3 administrators. One of those 3 is Daniel. Daniel is so exceptional, so far beyond his colleagues, that Darius plans to set him over the entire kingdom. The other officials are furious. They look for grounds to bring charges against Daniel, his conduct in government, his administration. They find nothing. He is trustworthy, not corrupt, not negligent. So they say to each other, "We will never find any basis for charges against this man Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God." They go to the king. They propose a new law. For 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or man except King Darius will be thrown into the lion's den. Darius signs it, a law of the Medes and Persians which cannot be altered. Daniel hears about the decree and goes home, goes to his upper room, opens his window toward Jerusalem, and prays 3 times a day, as he had always done. Not as a protest, not to make a point. He prays because he prays, because no law changes what he does when no one is watching. Except today, people are watching. The officials find him praying. They go to the king. Darius is devastated. He tries all day to find a way to rescue Daniel. There is no way. The law cannot be changed. At sundown, Darius says to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." Daniel is thrown into the lion's den. A stone is placed over the mouth. The king seals it with his own signet ring. Then Darius goes back to his palace. He refuses food. He refuses entertainment. He cannot sleep. At the first light of dawn, he runs to the lion's den. He calls out in an anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" And Daniel answers, "May the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, your majesty." Daniel is lifted from the den, no wound on him, because he had trusted in his God. The officials who accuse Daniel and their families are thrown into the den. The lions overpower them before they reach the bottom. And Darius writes to the whole world, "For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions." A pagan emperor writing a declaration of faith because one old man refused to close his window. And here is the thing that most people miss about this story. The lion's den was not the last chapter. What Daniel does after he walks out is the most important part of all. Daniel serves under Nebuchadnezzar. He serves under Belshazzar. He serves under Darius. He serves under Cyrus. 4 kings, 3 empires, 70 years. Let that number land. Daniel was taken to Babylon as a teenager. He is still there as an old man. He never went home. He never got to rebuild. He never got to go back to the city he was taken from. He spent his entire life serving in the capital of the empire that destroyed his homeland. And he never became bitter. He never became corrupt. He never became someone else. There's something I want you to notice about the way Daniel's story is told. Every miracle in this story came because Daniel had first done the quiet, ordinary, faithful thing. He refused the food, not with fireworks, with a 10-day test. He interpreted the dream, not by his own power. He prayed first, then he went to the king. He prayed at his window, not to make a political statement, because he always prayed at his window. The miracles followed the faithfulness, not the other way around. And when Daniel finally gets a glimpse of what God is doing in history, the visions, the prophecies, the future, he does not understand it all. He asks, "My Lord, what will the outcome of all this be?" The angel says, "Go your way, Daniel. The words are rolled up and sealed until the time of the end. As for you, go your way till the end. You will rest. And then at the end of the days, you will rise to receive your allotted inheritance." Go your way. You do not need to understand everything. You just need to keep going. Daniel's last instruction from God is not a vision, not a prophecy, not a miracle. It is permission to rest. I want to tell you what I think makes Daniel different from every other hero in this series. Samson had supernatural strength. Elijah called down fire. Moses parted a sea. Daniel had none of those moments. What Daniel had was consistency. 70 years of opening the same window. 70 years of praying 3 times a day. 70 years of telling the truth even when the truth cost him everything. And the miracles found him, because the faithfulness was already there. There is something else. Daniel was not in a comfortable position. He did not have freedom. He did not have a home. He did not have the life he would have chosen. He was in exile, working for people who did not share his values in a system that tried to erase his identity from day one. And he outlasted all of it. Not by fighting the system, not by withdrawing from it, but by being so excellent, so incorruptible, so consistently himself, that even his enemies had to admit they could find nothing wrong with him. The only charge they could bring was that he prayed. Let that be the worst thing anyone can ever say about you. Daniel is the answer. 70 years of watching, and every single one of them counted. Subscribe, because next we are telling the story of Gideon, the most fearful man in the weakest family of the smallest tribe, who God chose specifically because of his weakness, not despite it. That one is going to hit differently. I will see you there.